What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, this is Shawty Reads, where shawties and shorties be reading. If you are not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future literary content. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through the 10 or so books that have helped me with my anxiety and have pushed me forward on the path to a more wholehearted and present life. I wanted to make this video because I actually have a reel on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me at Shawty Reads. That actually did pretty well. It's like my most viewed reel. So I thought, why not repurpose this into a YouTube video for people who enjoy longer form content? And this way I can give you an explanation or a little bit more insight into why these books were so incredibly helpful. With that said, let's get straight into the video. Side note, I am not a therapist or a professional. I just have used these books as tools outside of therapy to help me lead a more intentional life. Now let's get into the video. First up is Pieces Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh. The beauty of this book is in its simplicity, y'all. I really loved this one because I think when you have anxiety, or I think people in general, if you're not feeling the moment, you want to be in another moment. Or you want to go on a retreat, or you want to go on a hike to realign your chakras, or whatever the case may be. And all those things are great. However, I like this book because he shows you that peace is in every step, peace is in every moment, the present moment, and it's really as simple as that. And reading this book is like taking a breath of fresh air, and you realize that sometimes we make things harder than they need to be. So the next time you're feeling all over the place and you're like, I just need to be somewhere else, actually, the best place to be is with yourself. Next up, I have The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. If you haven't read this book yet, I don't know what you're doing. This is a read once a year type of thing that you should have going on with this one right here. But the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, always try your best, don't make assumptions, and don't take anything personally. Those definitely were not in the correct order. However, I feel like this is a really great guide to making your life easier. Again, we like to make things harder than they are, we're conditioned to do that. So I think my favorite one in here is be impeccable with your word. Be intentional with what you say. Don't gossip. Try your best not to. I know we all do it. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't. But we really do speak things into existence. So if you're complaining all the time, saying that life sucks or this person sucks or what have you, then that is what your life is going to be, because you're speaking it into the world. And the world is like, well, guess what? Here you go. Anyway, highly recommend this one. Next, I have another one by Thich Nhat Hanh, You Are Here, Discovering the Magic of the Present Moment. So for me personally, when I was struggling with anxiety heavy, when it was really bad, I still struggle with it. The present moment just didn't feel good enough, or I didn't want to be in the moment. Like I was like, what do? I just sit here? Like I just sit here and think? That's a whole nother conversation about the power of now. Anyway, so You Are Here really helped ground me into reality and be like, well, you are here. You are here. I am here. I still say that to myself, at least, on a weekly basis, probably, where I'm like, I am here. If I'm just in my head or thinking about tomorrow or thinking about like, I wonder where I'll be on this day next year, I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm here. This next book I actually have a full review of on my channel already, so I won't get into the nitty-gritty of it, and I will link that down below if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of it. But it is The Book of Secrets, Unlocking the Hidden Dimensions of Your Life by Deepak Chopra. This book is a journey. This is not a book that you are going to speed through. Take your time with it. Kind of forces you to, because it's a lot to digest. However, he discusses everything from how to let go to how to live a more whole life, to how to reprogram your mind, to think more intentional thoughts to live the life that you want to live, basically. However, I did want to read this one quote that I like on page 89. It says, "Everyone knows how to choose, few know how to let go, but it's only by letting go of each experience that you make room for the next." So sometimes things can feel really hard and things can get you down and you're like, man, this is my life. But it's really just a life situation that you have to get through and let go of in order for better things to come. And I mean, there's always going to be stuff, and there's always going to be people and situations that hit that stuff, but it's important to know how to let go. And this book, I mean, that's just one of the things you will get more insight on from reading this book. It's real good. This next book is by my girl Brene Brown, Daring Greatly: How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. This book was really helpful for me because I think there's a lot of shame around anxiety, and there's a lot of vulnerability required in seeking help, in talking to your friends about it, talking to a therapist. So this was a guideline for me on how to be vulnerable, what shame really is, and how to actually deal with it. Basically, like how to lean into the discomfort of being vulnerable. Because if there's one thing that this book really taught me, it's that to be alive is to be vulnerable. So you can either go through life fearing that, even though it's all you're doing is being vulnerable, loving people. Just to love someone is to be vulnerable, right? So you can either do that and be uncomfortable, or you can be vulnerable and be uncomfortable, but be free. So choose your level of discomfort. Anyway, this book really helped me. Next up, I have Vibrate Higher Daily, Live Your Power by Laela Delia. I absolutely love this book. It's beautifully written. It looks pretty, which is always nice. And the content inside is actually great. Like that was not the right one. I don't know, y'all. It's a cute book. Buy it, see it, you'll believe me. Oh, are those like my journal answers? Ooh. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book because she talks about transformation in a very real way. And when you choose yourself and when you choose to live a life that is going to fulfill you, it feels like things start to self-destruct because you are stepping out of your comfort zone into a new lane. And while amazing things are going to happen to you in the future, in the moment it feels like, oh my goodness, everything that I've gotten used to is just slowly crumbling around me. But what you are used to probably hasn't been nourishing you. And it's really important to set boundaries, choose yourself, nurture and nourish yourself with the people that you choose to spend time with and the things that you do in your free time. No one said any of it was easy. And I really like this book because in a very poetic, pretty, beautiful, but still raw, honest way, she's like, no one's saying it's going to be easy, but if you choose to vibrate higher daily, it'll be worth it. Next, I have All About Love by Bell Hooks. I have a full review of this book as well on my channel already, so I will link that down below. But in terms of this video, what this book taught me is what we all know. How can anybody love you if you don't love yourself? But then I took it a little bit further and I was like, okay, well, how do I love myself? And what this book teaches you is that love and abuse cannot coexist. So if you are being hard on yourself or not extending grace to yourself and you're like beating yourself up over the emotions that you have, that's abuse. And love and abuse cannot coexist. So I think if you are on the journey to self-love, like how I started was like, okay, I'm just gonna start by being kind to myself. Because and this book gets into like family, friends, who you choose to love based on your family situation. But I still think you can use it as a tool to be like, okay, let me start by being kind to myself. A lot of us are used to being criticized or being loved in ways that aren't really love. So it's like, okay, start with the basics with yourself. And when you show up for yourself that way, then other people know how to come to you and how to step to you and how to approach you. And if you heard that little squeak, that's my little baby golden doodle, probably messing up my house. Last on the list, I have Thriving as an Empath, 365 Days of Self-Care for Sensitive People by Judith Orloff. I've talked about this book a lot. It helped me when I was going through it. Oh my gosh. Every day was just so sad and a pity party, y'all. But this book really helped me. And basically, she gives you daily goals, intentions, affirmations to say or to read every day. So it's March 1st, first of the month. Be mindful of your energy level. So she talks about like how to be mindful of your energy level. What are you eating? What are you taking in? And the intention is I will train myself to be aware of my energy. I will listen to my intuition about activities and people who drain or nurture me. This is actually interesting because basically, the gist of this whole video and what all of these books have helped me learn is to pay attention to what your body is telling you and pay attention to your intuition. You know best. You know when something does not feel right. What happens is we get in our own way and we don't listen to our intuition, and it leads to a bunch of anxiety and even more issues that probably last longer because we didn't just stick with what we knew from day one. But like I was saying earlier, it's not always easy. So it's really just like pick the route that you want to take. Just know that, the easy road is going to lead to what we know. And it's really easy to get comfortable in the chaos of it all. So, build up that courage, build up that strength, read your books, talk to a professional because I'm not one, like I said earlier, and you'll get there. So these last two books were actually not included in the reel that I made last year that this video was inspired by. However, I wanted to include them here because they have helped me a lot throughout my journey. And I read both of these once a year. So I would say, they've made a decent impact on my life to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to ingest this every year. First, I have I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This book, along with her entire series, which I love, I'm just going to focus on this one in this video, is that in order to practice any other value with consistency, we have to have courage. And I feel like her writing is just infused with courage and grace and wisdom because she tells her story with honesty. And what I take from the series is that she made so many mistakes. Fantastic ones, spectacular ones. I feel like I have too. We all have. So it's really liberating to read about someone else's experiences and how they handled them. And personally, I feel like she handled all of them as best she could. And she learned from her mistakes and always took them into the next experience. And I feel like that's what's important. So this book, along with the other 6, are so powerful. Last on the list, I have The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I love this book along with everybody else in the world. I know some people think it's corny or cheesy. It teaches you something. Take it or leave it, it's not for everybody, but I really like this book because it's all about your destiny and realizing your destiny and realizing that there's going to be a ton of obstacles in the way and you're going to meet a bunch of cool people and maybe not so cool people, but the important thing is how you get through it and how you make it to the other side, because I can guarantee you're going to make it to the other side. All right, y'all, we have reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Per usual, every book mentioned will be linked in the description down below. I really wanted to make this video because when I was struggling with anxiety on a daily basis, I felt so alone and I found so much shelter in the books mentioned, but also just in reading in general. You don't have to read self-help or self-improvement to find yourself on the page, or honestly to find the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes all it takes is one spark, one sentence, one idea to change your life. Thanks again. Make sure you like and comment so I know what you thought, what you messing with, what you not messing with, and of course subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video. Drink your sea moss, drink your water. See you next time.